Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Testing. Two, three. Alright, we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is MJ Edwards here, and welcome to the Ramley. So, we have a bunch more news to talk about, guys. A lot of news to talk about. So let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to talk about NFL first. Rams 25 most important players for number 25, number 16 O-line OLB Brian Young. Should the Rams add a former defensive player of the year? What do you guys think? Stephon Gilmore lives in from for the Rams fans as his interception of Jared Goff in Super Bowl 53 sealed victory for the New England Patriots. Gilmore followed up his Super Bowl hero performance with a stellar season that saw Gilmore win NFL Defensive Player of the Year, capping off the greatest achievement for a player who has been a premier cornerback for his career. Gilmore is currently a free agent, and as he's set to turn 34-5 in March, Gilmore understands he doesn't have much money, and with guys, he wants to go after the eventful Steelers offseason filled with major talent acquisition and retooling on both sides of the football. Pittsburgh has once again been disrespected in a new top players list. CBS Sports recently created their top 2025 NFL players by jersey number list, and the Steelers have just one inclusion, surprisingly, number 90, TJ Watt. Next. NFL Insider provides takeaway on Rams' potential in 2025. There's a video, so we're just going to go audio only. No romance on me. Sorry, I got that song stuck in my head. Hold on. Alright, unmute this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Rams on SI. I'm your host, Claudette Montana, joined by our NFL senior writer, Hondo Carpenter. We are talking all things Jared Verse today, linebacker for the Rams. Because Hondo, he's coming off a good rookie year. He was named AP Defensive Rookie of the Year. So as we look ahead into year two, do you think he has the potential to be a top 10 linebacker in the NFL next season?
First of all, if that's a good year, I would hate to see your standards for a great one, Claudette. I got to tell you, the guy had a fantastic rookie year, and I'm going to say something a little unconventional, because I think you asked a great question. I think he already is. I think he's already in that mix. When you take into account his age, I saw some lists where people had him at 12 or 11, but you look at some of those guys on that list who are really long in the tooth. Let me ask you this question. Would you rather have Myles Garrett today or Verse? Well, of course you're going to want Verse.
Oh, hold on, there's an ad.
He's only 1 year in.
Right.
There are several guys that I think you'd much rather have Verse over than people that are allegedly ahead of him. He's 1 year in with a great work ethic, and everybody loves the kid. He's great in the locker room. He's great outside the facility. He's great in public. He is the real deal. Terrific kid. If you don't like Jared Verse, the problem's you, not him. And man, his sky's the limit with him, isn't it?
Absolutely, and obviously coming off, as we mentioned, a really good rookie year. So excited to see what he does in year two. And look, the season's right around the corner, so it's going to be here before we know it. All right, I want to remind everyone that they can go to si.com/NFL/Rams for all of your Los Angeles Rams coverage, maybe even a little bit more on Jared Verse as well. Hondo, thanks so much.
Alright, there we go. Next. That's nice. I didn't even have to read all that. when the Denver Broncos check 1 2 3. Okay, we're back. When the Denver Broncos hired Sean Payton to correct the erroneous hire of Nathaniel Hackett, it was under the assumption that he was going to turn around the team's fledgling culture. Going into year 3, Payton has righted Hackett's wrongs, landing Bo Nix and turning the Broncos back into a playoff team. In 2024, Payton led the Broncos to a 10-win season, completing the turnaround from the 5-win season in 2022. For that reason, Pro Football Focus writer Dallas Wasserman named Payton the second best returning coach in the NFL headed into the 2025 season. Kansas City Chiefs coach Andy Reid tops the list in contrast. Philadelphia Eagles coach Nick Sirianni lands at a surprisingly number 8. However, Payton's turnaround work helps him land behind the legendary Chiefs spot. Payton inherited a disaster in Denver in 2023, and his quarterback, Russell Wilson, was clearly unhappy after a 1-5 start. Payton rallied the team behind a strong defense to win 7 of their final 11 games. Wilson was jettisoned, and the Broncos selected their new quarterback, Bo Nix, in the 2024 NFL Draft. Wasserman wrote for PFF, Payton and Nix turned out to be a match made in heaven, given the Broncos fans a vision of Payton renewing the success he cultivated for so long in New Orleans. Denver's defense was still strong last season, and Nick's excellent 1.8% turnover worthy play rate perfectly represented a team that didn't beat itself. The Broncos lost only 2 games all season, more than one score. Defeats the AFC elites, Baltimore and Buffalo. Denver has only added more talent this offseason and should continue to contend with its elite head coach leading the way. Payton made good on his promise to right the ship. He can take the Broncos back to the playoffs and beyond. What we will find out in September. Next, hold on. Yeah, we'll read this. Former NFL player suggests the Kansas City Chiefs are headed for a Super Bowl slump. The offseason is winding down, and commenters continue sharing their opinions, on the upcoming NFL season. One popular question concerns the Kansas City Chiefs and their future among the league's elite. Fox Sports analyst and former NFL linebacker Emmanuel Achu believed that Kansas City could be on their way to some subpar seasons. He discussed the team and more recently on FS1's The Facility. We all forget in the midst of praising Tom Brady, the Patriots that didn't win a Super Bowl for 10 years, from 2004 to 2014. They did not win a championship, said Acho. They won 3 a 10-year break. 3. Patrick Mahomes has already won his 3. Are we in the midst of his 10-year hiatus? The Chiefs Hold on a second, guys. The Chiefs have won the AFC Championship game in the past 3 seasons. They have created impressive success since Patrick Mahomes became the full-time starter in 2018. Has the drought begun for the Kansas City Chiefs, and is everybody just afraid to say it? Said Achos. Because it's sacrilegious to talk about Patrick Mahomes, and it's sacrilegious to talk about Andy Reid. Kansas City has won 9 consecutive division titles, the second longest streak of division championships in league history. Only the New England Patriots, who won 11 successive AFC titles from 2009 to 2019, had a longer streak in NFL history. And there's a video of something. Hold on. Is Patrick Mahomes still a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? Listen in. Listen in.
So happened to open the eyes of some, who maybe now will start to ask if Patrick Mahomes, having statistics that show he may not be playing like a top 10 quarterback in football, is actually weird for the guy who's supposed to be the best quarterback in football. I don't think it's unfair to ask Patrick Mahomes to throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I don't think that's unfair at all. And yet, when you look at the most recent regular season run for Pat Mahomes, it's not been good enough. The pushback that I always got, playoffs, and then in the Super Bowl, assuming you watched the game and didn't just fall victim to he finished with 3 touchdowns. He was kind of all right. It was the defense's fault. No. Mahomes played the worst game of his career in that Super Bowl. All that luck came home to roost on the biggest stage. So I ask you this, Joe. What?
Hold on a second, guys. There's an ad. Okay, we're good now.
Looking for from Patrick Mahomes this upcoming season?
I want to see that explosive playmaker, that challenge defenses over the top when he had Tyreek Hill and could score at any point in the game. That's what I need to see. I don't want to see methodical drives, 80 yards, and they kick a field goal and they grind out a 6 or a 9 point win. I want to see dominance what we saw in the second half after the game was signed, sealed, and delivered from him hitting Xavier Worthy 2 times against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now with Marquise Brown and Rashee Rice coming back in that lineup from an ACL, you have a playmaker in Xavier Worthy. I need to see the 5 wide and Pat Mahomes chuck it all over the yard. If they can do that early in the season, I'd buy back into the Kansas City Chiefs. I will say, I believe that the division, the AFC West, is much harder now with Bo Nix in Denver and now seeing Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert make it to a playoff appearance against Houston. It's going to be very difficult to see that type of dominance that we saw out of Kansas City, but I still think they're the team to beat in the AFC West, and they still, in a playoff environment, if you're asking me, which quarterback would you back? I would still back Pat Mahomes in any type of playoff environment because I do believe in him, and that's why he's got 3 Super Bowls, Donnie.
Yeah, the Chiefs are the best team, as you saw that graphic there, 11.5 wins to 9.5 and 9.5. But make no mistake about it, we'll talk a little bit later about the Buffalo Bills, and the reason I bring that up is we always used to like the Chiefs because it was a walk in the park in that division. 5 free victories, maybe 6 in the division that you get, and you move on to number 1 overall seed in the playoffs. You don't have that now. You don't just go into LA and beat up on the Chargers. That's a good team. Can't just go into Denver and say, we own the Denver Broncos. That's now a really good team and improving now at this point. And you're not going to get that doormat in Vegas because at least you have a head coach that knows what he's doing and a quarterback that is a veteran. You're just going to go in there and walk over him at this point. So that is a little bit of a delay. But I have to say this. I do like the fact that I look at this roster and say, all right, they're always switching up their offensive line, which can be a detriment. Because sometimes when they get to the Super Bowl and it falls apart, they try to retool and it works, and sometimes it doesn't. We'll see if that bounces back. But the one thing you are getting is, Rice back at wide receiver. That's a big help. Another year for Xavier Worthy. So it's flashes of brilliance there and super speed on the outside. And also Hollywood Brown on the one side. That's a really formidable 1-2-3 punch if they stay healthy throughout the season. Now, the one thing we also know is Travis Kelce is coming back. Not the same player he was just a few short years ago. That's the evolution of football, taking so many snaps, so many reps, and so many injuries and so many chances to get hurt here. But as long as you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're going to be a contender. They really are. They will be in the playoffs, maybe even looking at an 11 to 12 season because, again, the team total listed there at the 9.5 type numbers there. They're a double-digit win team, no doubt about it.
Next. DC Council. Can you guys still hear me? DC Council pushes RFK Stadium approval back with studies and public hearing deadlines. And there's a video for this. Actually, I'll just read it. So it says, the Council of the District of Columbia is moving back its deadline for a stadium deal at the abandoned RFK Stadium grounds with the Washington Commanders. Mayor Muriel Bowser and the team are pushing for the council to approve a $3.7 billion stadium deal by July 15th to build a 65,000 seat football stadium. Per the deal, to the team will contribute nearly $2.7 billion, and the city will fund about $1 billion. Some council members have been apprehensive about the plan. Chairman Phil Mendelson said the deadline would not be met and noted that council members would have a clear grasp on the deal after the completion of 3 studies. The studies include a economic analyst from the council's budget office, the district chief financial officer's findings on proposed tax breaks, and an outside commissioned sports study on the project. Public hearings are set for late July. After the mayor's proposed deadline, a vote will likely be held this fall. A Washington Post SAR school poll found that of the 651 DC residents surveyed, 55% support the plan compared to 39% who oppose it. The council is still expected to approve the plan, but some have expressed the need of change. The mayor thinks that her deal is perfect, and that's great for her. Councilwoman Christina Henderson told the Washington Post last month, "I feel like there are areas where we can clearly improve. Under the current plan, the stadium will be completed and ready for the 2030 season. The Commanders have expressed concern about moving the timeline back. We feel real urgency that we need to have a decision from the city council as quickly as possible to stay on a 2030 track." Andy Van Horn, head of real estate for the Commanders, told Axios, "If we slip past August, it gets more like a 2031 delivery, because we have been moving utilities mid to early next year," he added. According to Axios, the Commander's staff took council members to an upscale dinner in Washington in a likely effort to win them over. And it says something else, which I'm not going to read it because it gets too political. So that's what... Does it say in the video too? Because if it does, I'm not doing it. Yes, it does. Okay. Next. Bengals offensive depth chart projection ahead of training camp. Quarterback Joe Burrow, Jake Browning. Running back Chase Brown, Samaje Perine, Zach Moss. Wide receiver Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Andre Uzavas, Jermaine Burton, Charlie Jones, Jordan Moore. Tight end Mike Gesicki, Drew Sample, Tanner Hudson, Tanner McClellan. Offensive line Orlando Brown Jr., Amarius Mims, Jalen Rivers, OT. Ted Karras, C. Matt Lee, C. And then Dylan Fairchild, G. And the rest of them are G. So, Lucas Patrick, Cordell Volson, Cody Ford, Jackson Kirkland. Next. Steelers CB Jalen Ramsey called out for alleged disruptive behavior with Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. But one long-term sports writer believes the Dolphins were more than willing to part ways with the three-time All-Pro cornerback. According to Sun Sentinel writer Dave Hyde, they were specific behavioral issues from Ramsey that pushed the Dolphins to their breaking point. Let's start here. The Miami Dolphins won't miss cornerback Jalen Ramsey, Hyde said. They won't miss him regularly, Larry, showing up for practice as the rest of the team was in the middle of stretching. They won't miss how he constantly undetermined defensive coordinator Vic Fangio 2 years ago and Coach Mike McDaniel last season in a manner that spread like a bad odor through the larger team. Yikes. These behavior concerns, if true, seem eerily similar to those of former Steelers wideout George Pickens, who punctuality and immaturity made headlines more often than not last season. Who could argue that both Ramsey and the Dolphins were ready to change for a change of scenery? But the same can't be said for now. Former Steelers safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, whose leadership in Pittsburgh will be difficult to replicate. It's worth nothing that there are always two sides of every story. As Steelers legends have been extremely welcoming of Ramsey, who's ready to make his stamp on a Steel City brand of football. Next, ambassador to France. Saints LB Demario Davis to represent team in Paris. Demario Davis has a big week ahead of him. NOLA.com's Luke Johnson reports that Davis is headlining a group of New Orleans Saints representatives on a trip to Paris. Aimed at cultivating fans in France, where the Saints own exclusive marketing rights among the NFL's 32 teams. Rumors have been building about the Saints playing a regular season game in France. An NFL first in the near future, Davis and the Saints will be active in Paris from July 10th to July 14th. Next, we got a ton of news to talk about, guys, so we're just going to keep moving. Pat McCaffrey, a fan of Dolphins, Darren Waller edition. The Miami Dolphins traded for former Pro Bowler tight end Darren Waller. The 32-year-old didn't play football last season and is coming out of retirement to join the Dolphins. But Waller has played exceptional football through his NFL career. The best two seasons both came with the Raiders in 2019 and in 2020. The Georgia Tech alum caught 90 passes for 1,145 yards and 3 scores in 2019, and they notched 107 catches for 1,196 yards and 19 touchdowns in 2020. It was in 2020 when Waller earned his lone Pro Bowl nod. Next, This Rams veteran must continue evolving. And there's a video. Oh, it's the same thing. We already read that. Let's see here. Why does it keep popping up the same thing? Okay, we're not gonna read that one. Rams Terrence Ferguson shares list of first-time experiences. Rams Terrence Ferguson recently participated in an event where he had to share a bunch of his first-time experiences. Alright, tell you first. Let's see jersey number. My first jersey number was 77. I played center and defensive end. So I was in the trenches, said Ferguson. This explains why Ferguson is so willing to get down and dirty as a blocker. Despite his more slender frame, it's second nature at this point. Tell us your first touchdown, but if it's high school, I threw a touchdown. Varsity touchdown, I threw a touchdown. Ferguson has been a red zone expert since arriving in Los Angeles, putting himself in position to be Matthew Stafford's best friend in an area the team struggled with last season. Tell us your name of your first football team. I was the Patriots, the Littleton Patriots. They don't exist anymore. Tell us your football jersey, your own. I was giving a Joe Horn Saints jersey, so I was a Saints fan growing up. On November 30th, the Rams traveled to Carolina in order to play Joe Horn's son, JC, perhaps leading to some friendly competition in the Bayou. Tell us your first Ram you can think of. The first Ram, Aaron Donald. Donald has spent a bunch of time around the new players, helping his old team while not overstepping. Even in retirement, Donald still commands the Rams. Tell us your first impression of LA. Hot. Tell us the name of your first best friend, Skylar. Shout out him. Tell us your first job. My first job I worked for my dad a lot, doing like landscaping, roofing, HVAC. Tell us your first pet and her name. I'll just get my dog, Murphy. He's still alive. He's like 14 years old, white crusty dog. This normal. Tell us what your first big NFL purchase will be. Probably just rent out here. I've been looking at rent and it is very expensive, so I'd count that as a big purchase. Rent in Woodland Hills is very expensive. Ferguson gave relatable answers as he continues to connect with fans on a service level basis. Considering his play style, Ferguson could position himself to become more of a playmaker of this team for the team this season. Next, Chiefs get a 1-year extension of their offer to move to Kansas. Next, Gotta keep moving. 2026 NFL Draft. How the Falcons pick shapes the Rams' future. Equal footing. Next steps. Okay, I'm not gonna read that. 8 Rams players make Bleacher Report's Division All-Star team. Quarterback Matthew Stafford, running back Kyron Williams, wide receiver Puka Nacua, LG Steve Avila, RG Kevin Dotson, RT Rob Havenstein, Edge Jared Verse, DT Kobe Turner. And there's a video as well, so that helps. Listen in.
About it.
No,
but,
you
but,
got the,
but,
you can.
but,
You got
but,
the jacket.
but no,
Talk about your top 3 running backs. Do any of those guys have a chance to run like you?
well, you know, they can run. They don't run like me. And I'm not saying being arrogant about it.
No,
but,
you got the,
but,
you can.
but,
You got the jacket.
but no, everybody has their own style. You have your own style. Zeke has his own style. Le'Veon has his own style. And Todd has his own style. And it works for you. That's
Right.
the thing. And my style worked for me.
Now we just talk your top 3. We talking about Zeke. I mean, what about Zeke? Where he's like playing well. Why do you like him?
The thing I like about Zeke is how well he runs inside and how he can find holes. When it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, he can always seem to slip through that spot that no one else can find. Runs tough inside, very durable, and he's a good receiver and a good blocker. And you know, being a running back, most running backs don't like to block, and he can block.
Well, a lot of people kind of knock him a little bit because he's offensive line, but I say it's a perfect marriage. Now, this next guy we're talking about, I mean, he does it all.
Yeah, this guy, he can line up outside as a receiver, run the football. Le'Veon is an exciting runner, very patient. I couldn't run like this. I couldn't wait behind my guy, kind of shuffle my feet. I want to get to the hole.
Right.
That's what makes him special. He's a special guy. He does a good job
I've
of blocking.
heard of
Not a great
Le'Veon
blocker,
Bell.
but he's really good at lining up outside and not
Bell,
just being
I meant.
a decoy, but actually being a real threat outside.
You know, he does well. Now, this number 1 guy is a guy we both know really well. I got a chance to see him the last couple years as he has grown. What about Todd
Gurley
makes him your number 1 guy?
Really 2 things. Coming off a disappointing year before, when the Rams first came back to LA, and everybody was saying that he's not that guy. Yes, he is. I said, let him get the blocking. The thing about Todd is that first step.
Right.
When the first time I saw him, he had that it factor, and that's it. Great receiver. We didn't see that his first year here in LA because they didn't throw the football to him. Not a great blocker, not bad, but not a great blocker. But he can find the hole and he can hit it fast. He can line up outside. He got around linebackers, safeties. That's why he's my. And I'm not just saying it because he's a Ram. I wouldn't.
I'm saying it because he's a Ram.
I would say it, but I'm telling you, he is the ultimate running back, and I like this because of his speed back.
Oh yeah, he definitely can run. High 10 hurdler in high school too. Ed, I appreciate you, man.
Thank
Lindsay, back to you.
Wow. Next. Okay, that's about draft. We're not doing that. What's this? Okay, keep that up. Minnesota Vikings named best fit for Super Bowl winning free agent cornerback. Next. Rams 25 most important players of the 2025 number 15 for 2025. Number 15, DL Braden Fisk. Next. Rams coach loves rookie LB Pooh Paul Jr.'s aggressiveness and work ethic. When the Los Angeles Rams drafted Chris Pooh Paul Jr. in the 5th round, fans were elated to see them finally address a position that's been viewed as a weak link. The former Old Miss linebacker plays with a ton of speed, energy, and impressive instincts, which makes him such an exciting prospect. He has a long way to go before he earns a spot in the starting lineup, but inside linebackers coach Greg Williams, like what he's seen from the rookie this far. Rams staff writer Wyatt Miller asked Williams this offseason what he liked about Paul coming out of Ole Miss, and he immediately said aggressiveness. For that reason, Williams says, I don't even think we've seen the best of Pooh because we don't have pads on. It can be challenging for linebackers to stand out in OTAs and minicamp when there's no hitting, but Paul's athleticism is going to be on display during training camp and the preseason when the pads come on. In addition to his physical traits on the field, Williams also likes Paul's work ethic off the field. That kid has been unbelievable as far as his preparation, Williams said. He's a football guy. It is his number one priority. So, with that being said, I'm going with him because I think he's going to will himself to be good. Paul has Omar Spaghetti, Nate Landman, and possibility even Troy Reader ahead of him on the depth chart right now, but he can overtake all of them at some point this season if he develops the way the Rams hope he will. He has the traits to be a starting linebacker in the NFL despite being undersized, especially in a Rams defense that has a top tier front along the line of scrimmage. Next. College football quarterbacks rankings. Our top 25 list is dominated by SEC Big Ten. And there's a video which we'll read the names first. Number 1, Cade Klubnik, Clemson. Number 2, Drew Allar, Penn State. Number 3, Arch Manning, Texas. Number 4, Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. Number 5, Sam Levitt, Arizona State. Number 6, John Mateer, Oklahoma. Number 7, DJ Lagway, Florida. Number 8, Lanoria Sellers, South Carolina. Number 9, Carson Beck, Miami. Number 10, Kevin Jennings, SMU. Number 11, Sawyer Robertson, Baylor. Number 12, Josh Hoover, TCU. Number 13, Luke Altmaier, Illinois. Number 14, Haynes King, Georgia Tech. Number 15, Rocco Betts, Iowa State. Number 16, Nico Iamaleava, UCLA. Number 17, Dylan Raiola, Nebraska. Number 18, Darian Mensah, Duke. Number 19, Dante Moore, Oregon. Number 20, Fernando Menzada, Indiana. Number 21, Blake Horvath, Navy. Number 22, Avery Johnson, Kansas State. Number 23, Miller Moss, Louisville. Number 24, Julian Sayin, Ohio State. Number 25, Bayron Morton, Texas Tech. So let's listen into the video.
Got to have a good understanding of where it is and the decisions that have to be made, which I don't think those decisions.
I don't want any of that. Refresh. Hold on, guys. The commercial screwed my computer up. Hold on. There we go. Let's try this again. Why is there commercials every time? Okay.
Which I don't think those decisions can answer here. I think all of this is like have these answers come out of it. There's a lot of thinking heads, a lot of people that have to come together, a lot of agreeing that has to be done to get where we want to go. It's kind of a small sample size right now of what we did. And we're going to get another sample size right this year of a similar format. I think it's a little different than we've seen before, but where it goes in the future, I don't know. But I'm not looking at it in a self-preservation mode, which happens a lot in college football. There's easy meetings are that way, conferences are that way. I've learned from the best in the business that you're trying to constantly sustain the game and make it better and not just do it for what's best for you or just for self-preservation. And I'm not saying that anybody is doing that. I'm saying we got to look at it from that perspective. And that's more, I look at women's softball, I look at men's basketball, and I look at baseball. And it just absolutely blows my mind how the SEC end up with the teams they end up with in those positions. Some of those you can say are playing in. Maybe they went to a regional. Softball, World Series, you look at men's baseball, you look at men's basketball, 13 of 16
in their larger schools. But you look at what they're able to do, there's no outcry. There's nobody beating the drum saying that it's completely unfair. A lot of things based on what we got. There are a lot of things based on the schedule. There are more teams for that. I have a hard time holding this Alabama, South Carolina not being the best team last year. And that's that for me is a big part of the SEC. If people want to say, well, you play 9 games, you play 8 games. We don't really know which one of those is until we know the playoff format. But I beg everybody in this room question: we've been better off not playing Clemson last year, playing another SEC game to make 9 games. How would that have been better for the SEC? How would that have been better for Georgia? I don't think it would have. I think those schools you play outside your conference verify your stream.
Alright, guys, that's the end of the live stream. Or, excuse me, we're not done yet. I meant the video, sorry. Sorry about that. I meant the video. Next. Raiders contender for comeback player of the year. Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Max Crosby will look to come back stronger next year. Crosby was great for the Raiders once again last season, but was limited because of his injuries. Crosby missed games for the first time in his career last season. Crosby now has time to rehab his injuries and will be ready to go into the new season with a lot of fire to be the best once again. Next. Kansas punts stadium deal deadline to December. Next. Kansas lawmakers extend deadline for KC Chiefs and Royals Stadium subsidy deals. Next. Kansas extends deadline for Chiefs Royals to take stadium funding. Next. Patrick Mahomes doesn't hesitate to name greatest pass rusher he's faced, which is Max Crosby.
Max Crosby made news yesterday.
Which is what, here's this.
Nice things about you, calling you the greatest quarterback there. Would you like to return the compliment? I feel like you two are so. What is the dynamic there, Patrick? Because you get after each other. I see the highlights, the headbutts, the this, that, and then you're both like, I love him, I respect him so great. What's the dynamic?
You know, I have so much respect for all those guys in the league that are about their craft. They're about being better and better. And like he said, like, we're going to compete. We know when we step in that football field, we're going up against each other. It's the Raiders, it's the Chiefs, it's two of the greatest in the league going at each other, every snap, and then continuing to do it twice a year. And so there's so much healthy respect, but when we get on that football field, it's going to be trash talk. It's going to be going out there, and he's going to be trying to get to me. I'm going to be trying to make big plays happen. But those are the guys that, like I always say, like, obviously he's on the other team, so I want to go against him and beat him. That's the guys you want on your team. The guys that are going to leave it all out there no matter what the score is, and be the best they can possibly be every snap.
You don't want to say he's the best pass rusher in the business right now?
No, he's the best. I mean, I think he's sacked me the most out of anyone I've ever played against.
Oh,
so,
really?
I mean, to me, he's the best pass rusher that I've played against, and so no offense to any other pass rusher, just putting it out there. But he is the best one that I've went up against because he goes out there and he gives you the effort, he has the moves, and he has the skill. And I think that's hard to have all three of those and do that a year in and year out.
All right. Next. Running backs are excelling in Rams' offensive system. Next. It's got this video, and I don't know. Running backs are excelling in Rams' offensive. Rams verse gets rematch at Mekhi Becton in joint practice. Next. Rams verse gets rematch at Mekhi Becton in joint practice. Okay, it says ranking every Patriots wide receiver by his chance of making the 53-man roster. Oh, I can't pronounce these names. I know I've been trying, but I don't. Ooh. Demir Blankumsey is number 12. Number 11, Jeremiah Webb. Number 10, John Giles. Number 9, Javon Baker. Number 8, Jalen Polk. Number 7, Efton Chisholm. Number 3. Number 6, Kayshawn Butte. Number 5, Kendrick Bourne. Bourne. Number 4, Mac Hollins. Number 3, Demario Douglas. Number 2, Stephon Diggs. And number 1, Kyle Williams. Next. We're getting close, guys. Which is good, because MJ has to get up early tomorrow and work. Maligned former Raiders GM gets proper accolade for big draft success. Okay, we'll skip that. There's a few videos that we can show. Bill Belichick's hand-picked North Carolina quarterback becomes big riser in recruiting rankings. Who's that quarterback? Let's see here. Travis Burgess. Next.
We were just special.
I'm not gonna show that because there's copyright in it. Let's see here. How Pete Carroll got this Raiders team believing again. Okay, we can't say anything about that. How the Raiders will approach a critical positional group. Okay, here's a video, which will do audio.
Let's talk about the linebackers and defensive linemen that worked out.
Right. So today, Scott, today's the first day of workouts. The defensive tackles and the linebackers are working out today. Now, we've got some of these defensive lineman times. I want to explain these because these are important to understand. A 40-yard dash time for a defensive tackle really doesn't mean anything. How often would it matter that a defensive tackle is running 40 yards downfield? How about like never? And if a guy's got to run downfield 40 yards, that means it's a bad play. But two potential first rounders, if they go in the first round, will go late. They ran well. We'll get to the other time, which is way more important. Derek Harmon, who I like a lot from the University of Oregon, he ran a 4.95. And Darius Alexander, the same school that Quinyon Mitchell went to, Toledo, with the Eagles' first round corner. He ran a 4.96. No. Yeah. By the way, these are 40-yard dash times. These are not wide receivers. Okay, these are not cornerbacks. These are not running backs. These are not tight ends. Not a big deal. But the most important time is these 10-yard splits. What you're looking for with a defensive tackle, Scott, is short area quickness. Way more important for defensive linemen. The aforementioned Darius Alexander, really good. If you're under 176 for a defensive lineman, he's a tackle. That's really good. He ran a 4.7. He ran a 1.72. Derek Carmen, who out of Oregon, who I just mentioned, he ran a 1.74. That's really, really good. These are official times. So that's good. But again, let's put it in proper perspective. Lower body explosion, broad jump, a vertical is good, but a 40-yard dash for a defensive tackle means next to nothing.
So I have to ask you about, all these guys that don't work out. If I'm the others, I want to take advantage of them not working out. I want to be noticed. I want to be seen. I want to be talked about. I want to make my own mark. If all these studs don't want to work out, I want to take advantage of that if I'm someone else.
No, I agree with you. Now, for the guys who don't work out, you've got the pro day coming up. You also have private workouts for clubs. When clubs feel the need for it, they'll work them out privately near the campus. But the bottom line is you're absolutely right. For guys who are still going to be first-round picks at workout, you're showing that you want to compete. That's what GMs have told me over the years. They love when these guys compete. But a lot of players over the years, Scott, just decide they're not going to work out. But the big thing also, before we go into the second segment, is getting measurables here, Scott. Heights and weights, and 40 times. Eventually, you're going to have to get a 40 time. But it's the height and weights. And the one thing that would always bother me when you would look at these heights, quarterback would be 6'3" in school. Come here, be 6'3".
All right. Next.
The one thing that would always bother me when you would look at these heights.
All right. Rams Kyron Williams not considered premier running back. Do you agree with that or not? Comment down below. Next. Cincinnati Bengals player profile. I don't know about that. That's kind of hard to explain. 5 Chargers players make Bleacher Report's divisional all-star team. Wide receiver Ladd McConkey, LT Rashawn Slater, RT Rashawn Slater, RT Joe Alt, Nickel Tarheeb Still, Safety Derwin James. Next. Lawsuit seeks to stop Brown Stadium funding. What do you guys think about that? What the situation is now? Do you think it's right or wrong? Comment down below. And that's all I have. Besides those videos. Alright. This is the Browns Brook Park video.
For that property, Nucleus. Michelle mentioned the last project planned for that property, Nucleus.
We're putting energy back on the streets of Cleveland.
Well, it's been more than 10 years since those plans for a 54-story building with hundreds of apartments, along with office, restaurant, and retail space, were revealed. In 2017, we learned the project was delayed, but not dead. Then in 2018, the Cleveland School Board voted.
Oh no. It was a commercial, guys. Hold on.
Voted not to give the Nucleus project a tax break. And in 2019, plans changed with that 54-story skyscraper cut in half. The search for more funding continued, but after 9 years, nothing ever happened with the Nucleus project, and Bedrock bought the land.
Now, as for that other dome, the enclosed stadium the Browns want to build in Northeast Ohio, they're about to hit some more resistance. Just a few hours ago, former state representative Jeff Crossman and former Ohio Attorney General Mark Dan filed a lawsuit over the portion of the state budget just signed by Governor Mike DeWine that would allow the state to take the unclaimed funds of Ohioans and use them to pay for sports stadiums and other projects. That would include giving the Haslams the $600 million they requested from the state to build that new stadium in Brook Park.
What do you guys think about that? Do you agree with that or not? Well, that's all I have besides the videos. Unless we want to talk about more. Here's the... Is this a video or is this just...
This Bears team saying, if you...
I think it's an ideal time to see which teams will improve their 2025.
Okay, I don't know about that one.
Often than not. And if you lose, well, blame almost always falls on you. Some big-named NFL quarterbacks, both past and present, have been the beneficiaries of getting more hype, credit, and love than they truly deserved. But a deeper dive shows that these quarterbacks are, to put it simply, overrated. So, Here are 12 NFL quarterbacks who aren't as good as they seem or think they are or were. One pick of the 1970 NFL Draft helped the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl.
Okay, that was my last video that I had. I'd like to go till 12:30 if we can. 12:15, 12:30. Let's see here. Hold on, guys. Chiefs Patrick Mahomes falls in analysts' recent top quarterback rankings. That's interesting. Let's see here. Chiefs Patrick Mahomes falls in analysts' recent top Rams undrafted rookie named somebody to reckon with by coach. Rams undrafted rookie named Sean Shaun Dolac Dolac. Sean Shaun Dolac Dolac. Young Chargers star provided desperately needed safety value. Lad LADD McConkey. McConkey. Why is it not letting me skip? That's weird. It's not letting me skip. Okay, forget that. It's not working. Okay, that's not appropriate. We're not saying that. Let's see here. Okay, that's not appropriate. We're not saying that. Steelers already have Minka Fitzpatrick's replacement. Which is Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith. Which is This is so weird. No wonder why I don't do this.
More than an SUV. It's your
Round Pittsburgh, though. This team have Aaron Rodgers in their building as their quarterback. That has not stopped questions around Pittsburgh, though. This team ultimately moved on from Pickens.
Aaron Rodgers joins Pittsburgh Steelers amid team changes.
They bring in Jalen Ramsey, but that meant that Minka Fitzpatrick was leaving. Oh, Jonnu Smith is here, by the way. And then just incredibly hanging over the heads is now TJ Watt, maybe? I don't know. If that's a whole nother bag of tricks, quite frankly, for Pittsburgh to deal with. But the conversations around this football team begin with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is a future first ballot Hall of Famer who has not been producing at the level his teams have been looking for around 5 or so years now. Some injuries impacted that too. Maybe it's 4 years if you want to be exact. I think the most fascinating thing, Donnie, about Rodgers going to Pittsburgh is it feels like the thing most people are watching is, will Rodgers be synced up with the first ever time a Mike Tomlin-led Steeler team finishes under 500?
And it could be that way, because we're looking at Aaron Rodgers getting older in his career. You know what was underrated for Aaron Rodgers while he was with the Green Bay Packers? Mobility in the pocket. Originally, the side slip, some of those pass rushers here extend the play, and he always had a great arm. You saw that with the Jets, which is quite an issue. You look at that Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, it's not great. But understand this, too. I do believe they're a better football team with Aaron Rodgers than what they were last year with any combination of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at that point. But here's the issue that comes into play. You're right, because how committed is Aaron Rodgers? Did he really want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? Or did he say, I'll give it a run here? Because the thought process is, guys, where he wanted to be a Minnesota Viking, he wanted to maybe be a San Francisco 49er, maybe even a New York Giant. They all told him no. And it took a while for them to come to an agreement with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't care if they said, well, we agreed back in February just to keep it quiet at this point. That's absolute nonsense. But for me, this team is going to win more games than it loses, because that's what Mike Tomlin does. Like the Duck Hodges of the world and the Mason Rudolphs, like they've been to the playoffs with those type of players. So why can't they do it with Aaron Rodgers? But the key ingredient, Joe, I want to ask you this is, you take a look at Mike Tomlin. He always wins more games than he loses. But it says something about you really need to get your franchise started with your franchise quarterback. Let me just ask you, if Aaron Rodgers makes the playoffs and it's a quick exit, is that a success for the Steelers? Because to me, it's like, okay, Aaron, thanks for that. Now we're going to restart the entire franchise.
Absolutely. I think it's terrible. I think they made this decision a couple of years ago when they were 11.5-point underdogs with Mason Rudolph and lost the playoff game to the Buffalo Bills. The writing was on the wall then. Are they any better as a football team 2 or 3 years later now than what they were back then? The answer is no. They're stuck in neutral. They get DK Metcalf. To your point, they ship out George Pickens. It's a great move if they keep George Pickens. And I understand that George Pickens was a locker room guy. He was a problem. I get that. But the issue is the moves that they have made, just they take one step forward, they take 2 steps back. Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay, great additions at the cornerback position with Joey Porter Jr. If you had Minka Fitzpatrick back there, an all-pro in terms of the safety position, they have 5 or 6 guys now on the defensive side of the ball that are aging. They're at the back end of their careers. Players like T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward. And at the end of the day, when you look at Aaron Rodgers, he didn't step up in big games last year for the New York Jets. Throws 3 interceptions against Minnesota. Can't beat the New England Patriots on the road as a 7-point favorite. Loses to multiple teams throughout the regular season, including Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts as a 4.5-point home favorite. He didn't step up in critical spots. He compiled stats after they were out of playoff contention, and now I'm supposed to buy in. I'm selling it. I think this is a terrible move by the organization, and I'm selling under 6.5 wins at plus 240 on multiple books.
So for Aaron Rodgers, and to clean up what I said at the beginning about him not producing for 5 years, I knew I probably went back a little far. Rodgers' 5 most recent seasons are actually MVP, MVP, lose the last week of the season to the Lions in his last ever game as the Packers, injured game number 1, and then whatever last season was, where he somehow almost flirts with a 30-touchdown season, yet he wasn't good for any of the season or any real stretch of the season.
I agree their point about their point 100%, but and the Pittsburgh Steelers think there's a Super Bowl contending team, which I highly disagree, in my opinion. So, yeah. So, that's what I think. Next. That's all I have. Unless there's some videos we can audio, but Patrick Mahomes says the Chiefs need to get back to having fun again. Let's see here. Dolphins predicted to move on from Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel in 2026. What? I don't agree with this. Is there a video with this? I don't agree with this. I highly don't agree with this. There's no way. There's no video? I highly don't agree with this. Henry Ruggs wants to play for Raiders again. Should Fielding be mutual? New Browns edition looks overpaid before playing a snap. Tarek McLaurin's contract standoff with Commanders reaches breaking point. Bills quarterback number 1 Josh Allen landed again for extracurricular ability to irritate opponents. Failed Packers draft pick may not make it out of another training camp. Chargers may already have a Khalil Mack replacement lined up. Deion Sanders to rejoin team attend Big 12 football media days amid health issues.
And we are here on Pearl Street, about to go have some lunch at Pasta J's. And Adam, we got Media Day coming up next week. We're going to talk about that, but they've also got a new commit recently that we haven't talked about yet. But how you doing on this lovely summer day?
It's nice to get to enjoy 4th of July and then dive right back into it. We were messaging the other day. I was like, I'm ready to get back to work. It's actually been a pretty short off season because of the bowl game, more so than a lot of the seasons we've covered around here before. But there's only so much you can pour over this roster and debate the same guys before you want to at least get into camp.
Yeah.
And so you start having some new things to report on.
Well, I don't know about you, but I mean, every May-ish around there, I'm burnt out. Like, it's been a long school year. I need May and June to kind of recharge the batteries. But when July hits, it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready to get going. And we got Media Day. I know you and I are both flying out to Dallas on Monday, and the Media Day is Tuesday and Wednesday. Like I said, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about the latest commit real quick. Colby Johnson, linebacker from Sammamish, Washington. We believe that's how you pronounce it. There's probably people up there that say, no, this is how it's pronounced, but we're going with Sammamish. Colby Johnson, tell me about him.
Folks up there are really high on his potential. Now, he did have just one other Power 4 offer, so and that was from Arizona. So you get the debate from some fans that are, wanting to just see blue chippers put into this class. But the evaluation there was on him as a top-level guy, and they made him a priority, a linebacker that can kind of play as an edge guy as well, so pretty versatile. So we'll see. It's a guy that you don't get the best competition up there in Washington, but it's still probably as good or better than locally here in Colorado.
Yeah, and I like taking, I don't know, a chance, but I like some of those guys that are maybe lower level. I mean, a lot of times those guys turn out to be really good, recruits. And he's also a guy that, as the season goes along, who knows, maybe he picks up a few other offers. Sometimes you see that Power 5 commitment or, a few of those offers and a few more start rolling in because other teams are like, wait a minute, what's Colorado seeing that we're missing?
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing to point out, too, is that prep recruiting's changed so much. Yeah. You really can't freak out about a lack of prep commitments in this transfer era, especially when Deion Sanders is your head coach, and we've seen how they've operated. So would you like to see a couple more of those blue chippers? You had Sedarian Morgan that was seeming to be pretty interested in the Buffs, a five-star receiver, but he picked Alabama. You didn't get either of the two in-state offensive linemen that you really went after. So, yeah, you could hope for recruiting to be a little bit better from the prep ranks right now. But I put together a list of 12 guys that are still looking at Colorado that took an official visit to Boulder throughout the spring and summer. So we'll see how it pans out. I kind of see both sides of it. I see how you don't want to take too many flyers on guys, but you're also not married to that player for 4 or 5 years like you used to, because the players aren't married to to you for 4 or 5 years. They could take off. So you can take flyers on some guys and probably don't panic about Colorado recruiting until you get into that transfer season. That's when we've seen the real bulk of their roster building take place.
Yeah, and the other thing too is those players aren't married to other programs either. And so a guy that's been in another program for a year, comes to Colorado later, and that's where a lot of the recruiting is. I've seen some people that have mentioned, hey, Colorado's ranked like 100th right now in the 2026 class. Coach Prime's not even there. He needs to get back in Boulder. Do you think his absence has anything to do with maybe that lack of high school recruiting right now? I don't. I feel like the staff here is so good at what they're doing that there's probably not much more.
What does it take to reinvent healthcare? Who has the courage?
As far as results, it would happen if Coach Prime was here.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe they get another couple commits from that official visit season if Coach Prime is able to engage, because his personality is one of the things that really sells recruits on wanting to come here. But it's a health issue. It's not like Coach Prime is sitting poolside drinking a daiquiri every day and shirking his responsibilities. I know he would have liked to be here for the camp season, but you got to take care of your health, especially this time of year. You're ramping up to camp in the season. It's a grind for those guys. And so, the bottom line is he couldn't be here, and maybe as a result, a couple guys, but none of these verbal commitments are binding right now. So you could theoretically convince them to come out to a game in the fall when Coach Prime is on campus and still have an opportunity. We've seen a lot of their big gets be guys that have flipped late in the process. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know how. I'm sure he wants to get back and be with the team. You and I were joking. I think Bucky wants to get back. Yeah, he's been down in there for a long time, and we are kind of joking in his latest videos. He's feeding zoo animals, things like that. Like, Bucky needs to get out of Canton, Texas, and get back into Boulder.
yeah, no, it's been great. We've gotten to see a lot of Coach Prime's ranch during this time because I think Bucky is
He's giving the tour of everything at this
point. Yeah. No, it's cool to see that inside, but yeah, I think especially with Big 12 Media Days coming up, you just hope that Coach Prime is able to make it out there. He's still on the schedule out there, and he would be the last coach to address the media out there. So we'll see how that takes place. I really like the group of guys that they have going out there. I can't wait to see what Jordan Seaton's personality and how that comes across from all the media throughout the day.
I will say one of the funniest things Bucky's ever done is when he's trying to feed Ralphie. He's like, Ralphie, get over here. But anyway, I did talk to somebody this week that said, hey, Coach Prime will be there, and that sounds like his health is getting better and things are going well. So I was told he will be there, and he is the last guy to go, and it's only about an hour and a half from the house, so you would think he can make that. But let's talk about that because you got a group of 5 going out there. Caden Salter, Julian Lewis, Jordan Seaton, DJ McKinney, and Alejandro Mata. Good personalities. We're still getting to know Caden and Julian. DJ McKinney has probably been a little more reserved from what we've seen, but I sort of felt like when we talked to him in the spring, that was a more opened up DJ McKinney. Did you feel like?
Yeah, I think he's kind of coming into his own a little bit. I think it's got to be tough when you're in Travis Hunter's shadows, right? Yeah. And the crazy thing is statistically, and we can debate the Pro Football Focus grades and all that stuff, but according to them, the opposing quarterbacks actually completed a lower percentage against DJ McKinney than they did against Travis Hunter last year. That tells you that he was pretty darn good, and he's got a chance to be really good. Just a little bit of inconsistencies here and there, but he's got the length that NFL scouts are going to love. And we talked about him probably being the top pro prospect right now going into the season when you look at that 2026 draft. Obviously, Jordan Seaton a couple years from now is going to be highly sought after in that draft. But yeah, I'm anxious to see. Mata's got a great story just with his connection with Coach Prime and, being from a different country and just kind of his experiences growing up. And so, I hope DJ McKinney is not just hammered with Travis questions all day. Right. He probably will be. Right. It's a long day for those guys, but you got to vary up the questions a little bit. It's pretty brutal to listen to, and we're media members ourselves.
Right. Well, I guess it's on us to steer the conversation away from Travis Hunter. That'll be our responsibility. But yeah, there will be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of Shador questions for Julian Lewis and Caden Salter as well. It's just the way it is, right? Those 2 guys were larger than life figures and obviously fantastic players. It's interesting that both quarterbacks are coming. We talked about this ahead of time that I've never seen 2 quarterbacks go for one team because typically when there's a QB battle, the coach is not going to bring the quarterback. And so Coach Prime is like, the decision is either you bring 2 or none because you can't bring one of them because you haven't named a starter. I've never seen 2, but I'm glad that both are there.
Well, this is going to be an opportunity for Julian Lewis to really get a media baptism by fire out there because that's going to be a long day for someone that hasn't gone through something like that. But they've asked him to be mature beyond his years, and he's lived up to that since he's gotten on campus, showing a really good work ethic. And I think most people are going to talk out there like Caden Salter's most likely going to be the guy, but this is an opportunity, and if he's going to be your starting quarterback in 2026, this is all growth, and media is part of the journey. And so, I'm anxious to see how he does. Both of them did pretty well with the media in the spring, I thought.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at the entire list or really analyzed it yet, but Julian's 17 years old. He's not going to turn 18 until, I think, September. He's got to be the youngest player that's going to be there, right? Maybe the youngest player that's been at these media days the whole time we've covered him.
Yeah, because he reclassified. He's supposed to be a junior in high school right now. Yeah. So
going into senior, right?
Going into his senior year now. Yeah. So I doubt it. Yeah. I don't know who it would have been.
Yeah, I don't know who it would have been. Jordan Seaton, you mentioned, fantastic personality. He's going to be a media darling out there, I think. I think Jordan Seaton's going to, steal the show a little bit. He'll be a lot of fun. And, Mata, like you mentioned, he's going to do a little bit of that too. He's got that personality that they're like, oh, All right, a really confident kicker. All right, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's a good group that they have going out there. It's weird. Some teams have like 3 guys, some teams 4 or 5. I think 6 is the most. So
That's the most I saw. Yeah.
yeah, 5's a pretty good number. It's better. We used to only get 2 guys at Pac-12 media days, and you would usually be able to sit down and do one-on-ones with them because the Colorado Buffaloes didn't draw the media swarms the way they do now. So it's a little bit different, but it's nice to get a lot of those different voices as opposed to just a couple.
Yeah, I remember so many years Pac-12 Media Day at the Hollywood and Highland Hotel or whatever it was called, up on the rooftop. I mean, just casually sitting down with a Philip Lindsay or Cepho Lufau, Derek McCartney, but now no, it's going to be you get a couple seconds with Jordan Seaton and Coach Prime. We'll see. I don't think he's going to do much more than the big podium, especially with the health things going on. But we'll see. CU is the last team to go, so we got to go through 15 other teams before we get to the bus. We should have a lot of content.
Yeah, well, it's good for the Big 12 if Deion Sanders is there, and good for the media that that's their maybe 1 or 2 opportunities a year to get a chance to sit down and hear what he has to say. So that is very good news in terms of him expected to be there.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's go get some lunch, and we'll see you in Dallas next week.
Okay, guys, I think that is all we have for this live stream. Unless you guys want to wait 2 minutes. And then go off air because it's 12:28 a.m. Yeah, we'll wait 2 minutes. Former chief without a job deserves training camp invite. Who is that? Peyton Hendershot. Alright, guys, that'll do it for. Do you want to do weather? Let's do weather. I forgot to do that. So it's storming every day in Cincinnati. Thursday, 87, or Tuesday, sorry, 87 high, low of 69. Wednesday, 86, low of 68. Thursday, 85, low of 69. Friday, high at 88, low of 72. Saturday, high at 89, low of 70. Sunday, high at 86, low of 68. Monday, high at 88, low of 70. Tuesday, next Tuesday, is high at 90, low of 70. That's for Cincinnati. And then for Dayton, Tuesday, partly cloudy, high at 87, low of 70. Wednesday, cloudy with a stray shower or thunderstorm, high 86, low of 70. Thursday, partly cloudy, high 86, low of 70. Friday, partly cloudy, slight chance of a rain or thunderstorm Friday, high 88, low of 73. Saturday, rain showers, high 88, low of 71. Sunday, thunderstorms, high 84, low of 68. Monday, partly cloudy, high of 86, low of 69. And then next Tuesday is sun and clouds, high 89, low of 71. That'll do it for today's live stream, everybody. Yeah, that'll do it for today's live stream, everybody. Thank you for watching this live stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. And we shall see you guys in the next video or live stream. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.
I like it. weekend on Saturday and Sunday.
Antidepressants may increase.